All right. Hello, howdy, hello. Today we are going to talk about film noir. Now, I always say that word very American, noir, but in French, I guess it would be more like noir. I don't know. I don't speak French. So, what is film noir? So, film noir literally means black film. So, noir means black in French, but a closer definition is like dark film. And the reason for this is because it's both dark thematically and it's literally dark, like it has extreme light and shadows. Film noir are usually what's called hard-boiled crime dramas. So they usually feature a detective as a protagonist or someone who's been thrust into the role of detective. Excuse me. And they feature kind of humanity's dark side, like a criminal element. And they were heavily influenced by German Expressionism, which was a film movement and artistic movement going on in Germany a little bit before film noir was gaining popularity. Actually, film noir has its roots in Germany with Fritz Lang's M, which you will watch if you take film two. Okay, so cinematography in film noir, like I said, most film noirs are in black and white. A lot of film noirs that were made after the original film noir period of the 30s and 40s are called neo-noirs, which neo means new. We're going to watch a neo-noir next semester, Blade Runner. But neo-noirs are... neo-noirs have a lot of the characteristics of film noir, but are a little bit different visually. Film noir also uses, like I said, a lot of extreme light and shadow, which if you want to sound fancy is called chiaroscuro. But if you don't want to sound fancy, you can just say extreme light and shadow. That's fine. This is an Italian word that has its root in Renaissance painting. And there's a lot of visual disorientation or literal smoke and mirrors. So mirrors are a really common usage in film noir. Again, you can thank Fritz Lang's M for that, and just Fritz Lang in general. But there's also smoke is frequently used, Dutch angles, anything to make the viewer feel disoriented. So part of that is because of, as I mentioned, camera angle. So this is a key term for us. So you're welcome to pause here if you need to take a second to write it down. Camera angle just refers to the point of view from which the camera is set up. So there are a lot of different kinds of camera angles. I'll pause. Okay, so you might shoot from a low angle, for example, to make something look intimidating or big, to make the viewer feel small. You might shoot a wide angle, which enables you to have several subjects with a foreground and background within one shot. You might shoot from a high angle, or like they love to use in film noir, you might shoot from a Dutch angle, which is where you take the camera and you set it on a slight tilt. This is to create a feeling of disorientation, madness if the character is losing their mind, tension, the sense that something is about to happen. All of that is the purpose of the Dutch angle. So those are the visual characteristics of noir, but what are the themes, the thematic characteristics? Like I mentioned, film noir is often very cynical, so it has a very negative, dark view of humanity and the world. Film noir often involves nonlinear storytelling and the use of flashback. We're going to see that more in our second film noir that we're going to watch, Sunset Boulevard. As well as a lot of experimental storytelling techniques, like we saw with Citizen Kane. It explores the dark side of humanity a lot. Usually it has a lone wolf protagonist who, as I mentioned, is often a detective or someone who is filling that role. And they also feature what's called femme fatales, which means fatal woman. These are women who draw the main character in and in many cases end up betraying the main character or being the villain themselves. So these are women who tempt the main character and in many cases end up being the reason for his downfall. So The Big Sleep, 1946. This was directed by Howard Hawks. This stars, I should say Humphrey Bogart, not Bogart, and Lauren Bacall, who were a very famous screen duo, very much like Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. This screenplay was very carefully manufactured so that it could stay true to the novel and bring in some of the elements of the original story that maybe would not have fit the Hays Code. So they had to really dance around the Hays Code here to get this film to work. Something really interesting too, this is just a fun trivia tidbit, is that this film was actually shot during World War II, but Warner Brothers waited to release it because after the war, they had this backlog of war movies that they wanted to release while it was still a popular, while people were still into seeing war movies. So some of the elements of this film actually show that it was made during wartime. For example, there's an instance where there's a female cabbie. So that's just an interesting fact. It's not important to remember. This film can be kind of hard to follow. So again, like with Citizen Kane, don't stress out. I think this film is really enjoyable if you just kind of let go of the story making perfect linear sense and you just kind of let it happen. Much like Citizen Kane, if you're getting frustrated and trying to force it into a line that makes sense for you, then you're going to have a bad time. But when I watched The Big Sleep, I thought it was a great time, and I just I knew already that it was kind of hard to follow, so I just sat back and just let the movie happen, and it was delightful. And often I forgot who people were, but the movie reminded me, or I figured it out, and it wasn't a big deal. So I think you guys will be okay. But if you start being like, this is kind of confusing, don't stress too much. Ask a classmate if you want, or the teacher, or just come along for the ride. All right, I hope y'all enjoy this film noir. As I said, it's the first of 2 film noirs that we will be watching in class. All right, enjoy.